It's time for today's travel and cruise industry news. With the latest from travel and cruises around the world, here's your host, Chillie Falls.
Good morning and welcome to Travel and Cruise Industry News on this, the 18th day of September 2023. Coming to you from Bedford County in the Central Virginia area right near Lynchburg. All right, we got quite a few things on the agenda today for a fairly weak news day. The main headline today is Hurricane Nigel, what to expect. Several of these stories you might have heard about over the weekend. I took the complete weekend off, folks. I had other things to do all weekend and didn't even turn the computer on. All right, today's headlines. Luminosa spending 10 days at sea. Starlink gains more ships. Carnival quietly eliminating libraries. 2 passengers left in Mexico after an accident. And lots more live here at 8 o'clock today. Good morning. My housekeeper just came in. All right, folks, today is another day after my heart. I'm surprised that they did it this way, whoever writes these things. Today's National Cheeseburger Day. I mean, it was just a couple of days ago, it was National Double Cheeseburger Day. Well, why not split them up a little bit? I mean, I'll eat a cheeseburger just as quickly as I'd eat a double cheeseburger. So I'll go have a cheeseburger for lunch to celebrate National Cheeseburger Day. If you're listening via the podcast, you're always welcome here. Of course, the podcast numbers are so far and above my biggest numbers today. That's why I do spend a little time with it on every show. You can always access the podcast via my blog, which is accessadventure.net. And today's show is usually posted within 15 minutes or so, unless I have technical issues, of the end of the show. And then it's always available, so you can just go to my blog, and click on the day show. Or, of course, wherever you get your podcast from, all the main guys in the business all have my podcast. Just search for Travel and Cruise Industry News. Doesn't matter if it's on TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Podchaser, Stitcher, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast. Just search for Apple. Come on, tongue. Search for Travel and Cruise Industry News. And up pops the Fat Travel Guy. There's always a link in the description if you'd like to access the video feed so you can look at pictures I might be sharing, like I'm going to this morning, or interviews, or video clips, any of those things. So you can always just go to the description of the podcast and there'll be a link to access the video feed. All right. We're going to start off today with Hot Air Tom. You know, he's up in Pennsylvania taking care of some family business up there. And Hot Air Tom reports back that he finally had his shoe fly pie. He also got an Amish whoopie pie and the chicken pot pie that he wanted. So Hot Air got the three-peat up there in Pennsylvania. So good for him. All right. Our buddy Bethany, you know, she flew to Istanbul and then she sailed back to Venice. She got home and she and her dad jumped in the car and they went to Raymond James Stadium for the Tampa Bay football game yesterday. This is when she got into Venice, and I mean, she posted literally hundreds of pictures, folks. If you don't follow Bethany, you need to, just to see all the pictures she posts when she's on these trips. But this was Venice at night, and You don't see many pictures of Venice at night, and I rather enjoyed these. So I was supposed to have gone to Venice earlier in the year, this year, and it's gotten put off now until 2025. But anyway, I enjoyed Venice at night from Bethany, and we're going to have Bethany on really soon. I've got to get a date from her when she's available so it doesn't interfere with her schedule. And then, of course, Venice during the day. That's all from right around the hotel she was staying in. Anyway, we're going to have Bethany on here real soon because I want to get a comparison between Azamara and Crystal. That's not two cruise lines that many of my family, my followers, sail on. And it's going to be interesting to hear what Bethany has to say comparing the two. And here's our buddy Tanya. We haven't talked to Tanya since she was down in Australia, New Zealand. And man, they have been traveling just, it seems like constantly anymore. This time they're with Stafford upon Avon over in the UK. And then today, that's Stratford, of course, and the cathedral there. And today they're in Bibury in Gloucestershire, which I thought, boy, that's a cool looking little village. I've not been to Bibury before, but I just some of the UK little towns that get out away from the big cities, but some of those little towns just fascinate me. All right. Our buddy Rochelle is down in Jerusalem now. And this is, some of the sites around the Wailing Wall. And the Wailing Wall, of course, everybody, whether you're religious or not, of course, Rochelle finds a cathedral or a church in every little village she goes to in Europe. This, of course, is the market there in Jerusalem. And something tells me that they don't have any particular regulations on sanitary handling of food over there. That's, of course, a bread wagon. Can you imagine how the flies would attack that if you did that here in this country? Goodness gracious. And then my buddy Sylvia, I'm ambassador for Will Power Chairs and Scoot Around. Sylvia was the first ambassador and still is. So they have this gorgeous model quality lady as an ambassador, and now they have an old fat travel guy. So I don't know. I don't understand it. But Sylvia's been in Milwaukee for several days, and it's just she does such a good job of promoting what you can do on a scooter. She had one post last night where she just yesterday just took off on her scooter to see where she could go. Well, I do the same thing. I've done the same thing now in 3 cities, in New Orleans, in Anchorage, and Vancouver, where I left my hotel in my chair and I just took off. So she did the same thing in Milwaukee. So anyway, that is, sorry, I'm not taking any phone calls while I'm on the air. And then our buddy Libby, Libby's been on once before. She and her husband just got on a flight to Fiji, and they have the entire row on the airplane to themselves. I mean, they didn't plan it that way. It just worked out that way. I haven't seen that on any of the planes I've been on. I guess maybe that many people aren't flying from Honolulu to Fiji or something. I don't know. Anyway, that's my buddy Libby. She and I have been on 2 cruises together now. So, and a lot of the people that do this, and quite frankly, folks, I have to apologize. I do not take the time and spend as much of the show talking about what the family's doing as I should. I hope to get better at that. I hope to have, 4, 5, 6, even if I just do 1 or 2 shots of what you guys are doing out there in the big old world. So I hope to get better at that. That's one of the things that I want to do. There is kind of a sort of a neat announcement today. Those of you have followed the exploits with Will Power Chairs know that they sent me a C2 to use, and I have been somewhat worried about my ability to take the chair apart and put it together with the amount of oxygen I have standing. Okay. I mean, everybody knows I can go 6, 7 steps, and that's it. And that's with the oxygen going. Well, at the same time, I can't stand any longer than that, even with oxygen going. So I was somewhat concerned about my ability to quickly put this chair together. It's too heavy to put in the trunk like I do with my current chair, which is a fold up lighter weight version. I mean, this is a full on power chair that someone with much more serious disabilities than me would use. Okay. It's also the company, I guess, wants to prove that a big fat guy like me can be comfortable and move around with that chair as well. I've been concerned about my ability, just because of my breathing condition, that I could have it it comes in 4 pieces. Okay. That I could, in fact, get the 4 pieces out of my trunk and put them together quickly enough that if I started running out of oxygen, I could sit down, have it to the point where I could sit down and get my air back to finish putting it together even. Well, yesterday was my construction day. Unboxing the thing was a challenge in itself, because there I am on my other chair unboxing these huge boxes so they could ship the chair without any damage, of course. And it's the 4 pieces. Well, then once I got it unboxed, and I had to stop several times during this process to get my air. But I got it unboxed and got it put together. It was considerably easier putting it together than I had anticipated. So I'm figuring that this maybe I can do this now. I was really worried about it. Well, it was pouring down rain when I finished putting the chair together yesterday. So I haven't been for a test ride yet. I charged up the battery overnight, so it's going to be fully charged. And this afternoon is going to be a nice sunny day here in Virginia. I'm going to take the chair out, at least ride it around the driveway, just get a little comfortable in the new chair and the new controls. And I hope to film some of that. So we'll have at least some film of the new chair for the show tomorrow. And I'll probably get posted today for Will US. It's the actual tag for Will is will.inc /US. So WHILL.incorporated/US. That'll take you to the website that you can look at and order any of the chairs. You can set up scoot around rentals. You can call 844-699-4455 for any of the wheel or scoot around products. Just use code CHILLIE, CHILLIE, the longest way possible. They'll know who that is. That's Will US and the C2 chair. All right. The lead story today, of course, we always have to talk about weather. And it's cleaned up considerably. Matter of fact, Lee and they're gone. They're done. We do have Hurricane Nigel. And the main story today is Hurricane Nigel and what does that mean for you? Because this wasn't a hurricane on Friday. We were watching it. Nigel is now forecast to rapidly intensify into a major hurricane by tomorrow. Current location is 935 miles east-southeast of Bermuda. Maximum sustained winds are at 80. It's moving northwest at 12. Pressure's already down to 984 and dropping. Nigel is then forecast to turn northward late Tuesday and then accelerate northeastward through the rest of the week. Nigel is forecast to rapidly strengthen into a major hurricane by tomorrow, and then probably will start a trend of gradual weakening late Wednesday. So Nigel is going to go to the northwest and then hook over to the northeast. So it basically is going to be all in open water. It's going to end up going between that space between like Greenland and Iceland, just nothing for it to run into. Might get some effect as it goes by on Bermuda, but it's going to go well to the east of Bermuda. Of course, Bermuda got pounded by Lee as it went by to the west. So this will be from a different direction. I don't see Nigel, even though it could be a major hurricane, I don't see it affecting anything myself. So I think this is one that we're going to be completely clear of. And it's really interesting, folks, if you follow this much. I mean, this is numerous storms that have gone to the north that have not come across what I call the trough into the islands in the Caribbean and the Gulf. And that's where we get storms almost every year. And they're just not doing it this year. So anyway, that's Nigel. Sorry about that. All right, we got a new system out in the west, in the Pacific. This is a disorganized area of shower and thunderstorms with a broad area of low pressure located well south of the southern tip of Baja. This is not the same one we watched last week, folks. That went on, it dissipated. Environmental conditions are expected to be conducive for gradual development during the next few days. tropical depression is likely to form in part by the middle of the week, while the systems move west-northwestward over the central and western portions of the basin. 50% chance of development in the next 48 hours, 80% of the next 7 days. And again, folks, I could see this one being another storm to nowhere. It seems like it's forming well off the coast. It's going to have very little, if any, at least in the direction it's going now, effect on Central America, Mexico, Baja California, or even the U.S. Something tells me that this one's going to be another nothing. I hope I'm right. All right. A couple do that. I kicked myself right off the air again. All right. I'm such a klutz. All right, I'll be back. I'll be back with a couple news stories after this word from one of our network sponsors, if I can stay on the air long enough. Be back in a second. All right, the top story, folks, is Carnival Luminosa. Guests on the Carnival Luminosa's epic 30-night repositioning cruise from Seattle to Brisbane, Australia, received notification of an itinerary change just as they were boarding last week. They were getting on the boat in Seattle, expecting to go to Alaska, and the change canceled all the ports of call and visits in Alaska, which was Ketchikan and Icy Strait Point, as well as scenic cruising of the Hubbard Glacier. In a statement, Carnival Cruise Line said the decision was made in partnership with our Fleet Operations Center after monitoring a low-pressure system in the greater Alaska region that was forecast to create unusually high swells and strong winds. The safety of the guests and crew was the top priority of Carnival, and they made the decision in the best interest of everyone involved. The itinerary change means that Carnival Luminosa will now spend its first 10 days of the cruise at sea, with no port visits at all in that time. This includes when the ship will cross the international date line, which is an eventful moment on any trans-Pacific sailing. Carnival said the rest of the ship's itinerary through Japan, the Philippines, and Indonesia is unchanged, and there is no impact on an anticipated October 15th arrival into Brisbane. However, to help make up for the missing scenic Alaskan stops, 2 other ports of call in Japan have been added. The Carnival ship will now visit ports of call in Otaru and Hakodate in Japan's northernmost island. Guests who are booked on the affected cruise will be compensated for the canceled ports. Carnival said it will provide more information on this in the coming days, but it looks like everybody's going to get $200 in onboard credits. So I'm not sure that makes up for losing Alaska, but it helps. It is worth pointing out again, folks, that itinerary changes can be disappointing for guests, but most of the time they're made for just cause. They're made to keep everybody safe and happy on the ships and out of harm's way. So, and it happens, especially this time of year. Not usually in Alaska so much, but clearly, although you can get fog in Alaska that can change things, but clearly in the Caribbean, in the hurricane areas. All right, the next story today has to do with Starlink. Cunard and P&O Cruises announced they're going to improve their Wi-Fi connectivity Aboard the fleet with the integration of SpaceX Starlink technology, the partnership aims to provide reliable high-speed internet across access to passengers and crew aboard the ships. Cunard installed Starlink implementation in June with plans to roll out service across Queen Victoria, Queen Elizabeth, and Queen Mary by the end of the year. The eagerly awaited Queen Anne, set to debut in 2024, will also offer this cutting edge technology. Now, P&O introduced Starlink aboard Britannia and Azura, and the service will be available aboard Arvia, Iona, Ventura, and Arcadia and Aurora by the end of the year. All right. Two passengers that were guests on the Carnival Paradise never returned to the ship after a day in Cozumel, and the ship sailed without them. Family members learned that they were in a scooter accident. The two women were in a private hospital in Mexico with significant medical bills, and it's unknown when they may be able to depart for home in Florida. The two women were on the Carnival Paradise and were injured in a hit-and-run accident while visiting Cozumel. The women, Natalia and Ashley, set sail from Tampa last Sunday on what was to have been a round-trip cruise to Mexico. Cozumel was the only port of call in the 4-night itinerary. According to Tampa News reports, Carnival reached out to Natalia's mother with the news that the women had not reboarded the ship after a call to Cozumel on the 12th. About an hour later, the daughter somehow got a hold of someone's phone and called her mother to inform them of the accident. Further details provided by family members through an online fundraiser note that the accident occurred while the women were returning to the ship. They had rented scooters from a third party earlier in the day to visit a local beach club. The accident was severe enough that women lost their personal possessions and were unconscious for several hours. Their injuries include severe bruises, a possible broken foot, broken arm, numerous cuts and scrapes. One of the women was reportedly discharged from the hospital because she did not have insurance, while the other is still in the hospital until medical bills amounting to as much as $10,000 to $20,000 have been settled. This is common practice at hospitals in Mexico, especially when treating foreign visitors. To further complicate the matters, and wow, this one has some problems in so many areas. Neither woman had a passport to facilitate their return to the U.S. Passports are not required on closed-loop cruises to Mexico. The Carnival Cruise Line does highly recommend that all guests travel with a passport that's valid at least 6 months from the conclusion of the cruise. All right. There are several problems with this story, folks. Obviously, one, I do not recommend anyone travel without a passport anymore. I jokingly say it's not going to be long until we need a passport to go from Virginia to West Virginia. You guys, you need to get a passport, people. You need to have it for a number of different reasons. One, it gives you constant identification. Put it in a safe place. Don't put it where it can be stolen. I put it in the safe on a cruise ship, but when I go ashore, it's always around my neck. So you need that. I also, when I had mine renewed, I got the card as well. So I have not only the passport book, but I have the passport card. And I recommend you do that, folks. I know some of you are trying to cruise on limited budgets. I understand that more than anybody. But still, there's certain things you have to do, and that's one of them. The other is don't travel without insurance. Again, it's an expense. I understand that. I have done it in the past where I didn't have insurance, but I know now, I mean, it hasn't happened to me, but enough people have gotten stung. It's worth the money to have the insurance, and you can get it per cruise. You don't have to do an annual policy. I'm getting ready to flip over to an annual policy. So it costs me, what, $250, $300 for the year? As much as I cruise, that's nothing for having a problem on one cruise. The other thing to be very careful with, folks, while there are third-party vendors for excursions that can be recommended, you got to be real careful on third-party vendors. And scooters is one of the things that who knows how they're maintained, who knows how they are kept up, if they're inspected or not, if they're sound or not. Just be really careful with who you're dealing with, folks. And again, cheap is not always the best. All right, the last part of the last story this morning also deals with Carnival, and this is one I want your opinion on. Carnival, as was first noted on the new ships, the new ships don't have libraries. Then some of the guests started to notice on the other ships that are going through refurbishments, they're coming out with the libraries removed, and in its place a bar or a specialty restaurant or something other than a library. Now, I am not one to use libraries as a general rule, although I have occasionally set up in libraries and done my show because there's normally a decent Wi-Fi signal in the libraries, and quite often the Wi-Fi office is near the library. But there are a lot of people in my age category that enjoy getting on a cruise, getting a book, an honest to God book, not a tablet, not a reading on your phone, but an honest to God book with pages, and sitting back in a lounge chair and reading a book and watching the sea go by. I don't see anything wrong with that. So the libraries have always provided a refuge for people, number one, to get those books. And then there's always several tables in the library where people work on crossword puzzles or play games, play card games, any number of things. I mean, the libraries on a lot of ships are very busy, very busy. Now, Carnival's doing away with them. Royal Caribbean is keeping them. What do you think? Do any of you guys use libraries at all? Whether it's for card games, crossword puzzles, jigsaw puzzles, any of those things, or just checking a book out and reading it. Let me know in the comments down below or in the chat room over there. I would appreciate that. All right, that's going to wrap up the news portion of today. Tomorrow, I will be meeting with our friends at Virgin, not at Virgin, our friends at Viva Voyages, to look at the new solo deals for this week, to get an update on what I hope will be packages to go on before or after at least my January cruise. I'm hoping to have several things to offer on that to our guests, whether they be solos or couples. I will accept both. If you are a double occupancy situation and might be interested in going on a hosted cruise with me, let me know. I'll get you a deal. That's my policy. Not passion for cruises or Pete's. That's my policy. Let me know and I'll get you on there and hooked up. All right. And then, of course, Wednesday, I'll be doing the solo show. I don't know if Pete will be back this week or not. I haven't heard from him. All right, let's see who's in the chat room today. And if anybody's fussing at me for untoward things, Nikki's with us down in Jacksonville. Hi, Nikki. Emily, you're out of bed early from a rainy New Rochelle. By the way, what was that? You posted a picture. I was going to take that today and use it. You posted a picture of a high skyrocket building there in New Rochelle. What building is that? And how tall is it? I had no idea you had a building that size in New Rochelle. That's not the way I remember New Rochelle from the last time I drove through there. Gretchen's with us out in Ohio, getting ready to go to Europe. Everybody saying hello back and forth. There's Elizabeth down in Cozumel. Buenos dias, Chillie and the gang from my last week in Cozumel. I'll soon be updating you frequently on the beauty of Oceania. I'm flying out Saturday, finally. All right, folks. Elizabeth has not shared with you a whole lot about the hell she's been going through for the last 3 or 4 weeks. And all you people out there that think these people that work on cruise ships, that just anybody can get a job so easily. Elizabeth has been working on cruise ships for, I don't know if I can say that without giving her age away, 30 years or something like that. A long time that she's been working on cruise ships. She's changing lines to another line. She's going to work for Oceania. It's a job and everything. She was hired. She was given a ship. She had to pass the medical. They came up with 100 ways not to approve her medical, even though she's worked on ships for 30 years and passed every medical in the books, including going back to not wanting to accept her polio vaccination. She's an American citizen. A polio vaccination we all had to take when we were 6 years old, and they didn't want to take it. Now, this wasn't Oceania. This was Norwegian corporate. And then they put her through 15 different kinds of tests. And finally, her boss got the approval that she was approved medically and sent her a message literally overnight last night. It's cost her a couple $1,000s out of her pocket just to get her medical approval so she can go get on a boat and serve people like you and me. It's not that easy, folks. What if somebody was in the same boat? Some of the folks from some poor country that's just trying to get a job so they can send some money home. They don't have a couple $1,000s to take care of all the medical crap. And they get that kind of runaround. How would they ever get on the ship? I was just, I've been going back and forth with Elizabeth for like 3 weeks now, and it's just one thing after another. So when she says she's finally getting to go, that's with a capital F, finally. I'm sorry she's not going to be in Cozumel the next time I'm there, but she's going to be on Oceania, and maybe I'll get on Oceania. Who knows? Everybody's saying hello. How long are you on Oceania? She'll be there until mid-January. There's Sunny down in Mississippi. Can't wait to hear about Oceania. I want to go on her and take the cooking class. Yeah, those cooking classes do look good. Oceania's that's a quality line. They're a step above what we do with, Carnival and Royal Caribbean and Norwegian. It's just a quality line. Elizabeth says, I'll be working, but it's still exciting. Em says, have a wonderful time. And have a wonderful trip. Stay in touch. Yeah, she better stay in touch. I'll kill her if she doesn't. She's still going to be Elizabeth on location when she can get off the boat. I don't know if I'm allowed to say yet what she's going to be doing, but some of you, if you cruise on Oceania, you might see Elizabeth. You might just see her. Gretchen will be on Island Princess Friday. Any friends of yours above that I should look up? Ooh. Where is IP going? That's in Europe. I know loads of people there. I worked on that ship for many, many years. Oktoberfest out of Southampton. Paris, Hamburg, Rotterdam, Copenhagen, Gothenburg, Bruges, Oslo. I think I got all of them. Very good. There's Mike. Hi, Mike. How's things over in the UK today? I just sent you a message on Facebook Messenger, Gretchen. Sounds like some great places. Take pics. By the way, the number one cause of death on the island of Cozumel is motor scooter accidents. I'm not surprised. There's Kenneth up in Pennsylvania. Hi, Kenneth. Lots of pictures, lots of food and drink. Yep, I will be using Gretchen's stuff every time she posts something. I promise you that. I'm going to try to do a lot better than I've been doing with that. I get busy in the morning, especially on busy news days, and putting stuff together. And then I get sidetracked because I got to do a blog post. I got to do this. I got to do that. And I never get to taking care of all of my family that's out there posting stuff for me that I can use. So I'm going to try to get better, guys. I am. Steve's with us out in Kentucky. Hey, Steve. Another thing that I'm looking at seriously, once I make sure that I can easily take this scooter apart, put it back together, and comfortably get it in and out of my car and put it together, all those things, which I still got some more testing to do on it. But I'm going to maybe follow suit on what my buddy's doing up in Milwaukee, that she did someplace else in Michigan last week, where she's going and staying in an area for a good deal of time and seeing what she can find in her chair. That'd be a good excuse to go out and see Jason. Well, maybe go down and see Grant too sometime down in Nashville in college. I could see Grant. Oh God, my grandfather's coming on his wheelchair. That's what I need. But yeah, I like the idea of getting out and doing some local stuff in addition to doing my cruising. I'm not going to quit cruising. Don't get that wrong. Or bring a paper copy of your passport. Leave your real passport in a safe. Oh, you mean when you're cruising? If you go on board, or you go offshore, I think you have to have the real McCoy to get back on the ships. Because it depends on the island, probably. Some places don't, but some places do as well. I don't know if I'd run a risk of a paper copy of a passport. I think I would have to have the real one with me. Somebody else might chime into that one. I've never used or seen anybody use a paper copy of a passport before. So if any of you have, stick it in the comments for Emily to see. Definitely looking at a 77-day cruise. Ooh, I like that. Boy, that's on my bucket list to be able to get to the point where I could take one of those. Of course, I got to have some sponsorship, folks. I don't have that kind of money. Everybody knows that. Sonny says, I use libraries and friends do also. I don't, but I have. I think they're shooting themselves in the foot for the amount of space that takes just to make another profit center. Crap. I don't know. Yeah. Okay, Sonny. Glad to hear that. I agree with Sonny. I think Carnival's making a mistake. 17 days gone is my husband, and my limit 77 days would kill me. Oh, not me. I've been on 53 cruises and I haven't used the library yet. That's probably bad. Yeah, well, I understand that too, because it's not something that I normally do. And when I've used it, it's been for a specific reason. Like had a bad Wi-Fi signal, I could get a good signal here. I don't understand people not carrying their passport. I carry mine wherever I go, even if I take the ferry over to Playa del Carmen. It's on me. You are foolish not to carry it, period. I agree. Elizabeth and I are on the same boat on that one. Emily says, when I was on Dawn, the three of us did use the library and a couple of times for playing games. Yeah, we kept playing Scrabble with their Scrabble board. And I have ridden by and followed. I didn't jump in and do it much, but followed the development of puzzles. I've done that several times. There's a lot of things that go on. One of the cruises I was on, it was on the Joy. A bunch of the solo guys would go in the library on the Joy and were playing some kind of crazy games. And I didn't know about it because I was busy and never got caught up with them. They used to have to book club meetings in the library on Princess. Love the library. I agree, Nick. New Rochelle has changed. You won't recognize it. Those are high rises. Hotels and condos. Wow. Holy cow. That was a hell of a building. That's bigger than anything we've got here in Lynchburg, I'll tell you that. Downtown New Rochelle. Okay. Next time I will roll down the car window. Emily says, yes, good point, Chillie. I just realized that I too had my real passport when I was in Canada back in 2019 while on the NCL bond. Okay. Nikki says, I always have a photocopy of our passport in case our passport gets stolen or lost. Hey, as a backup, but not to not to use, you know. All right. Gretchen says, me too, Nikki. Yeah, I can see having a photocopy in case something happens to your passport. Then you at least got something to say, look, it was stolen, but here's this. So if I'm using my card, it's the same way. I keep it in totally different places. So, all right, guys, that's going to wrap me up for today. Again, as soon as I get things processed, I'm going to get outside as long as it hasn't clouded up and getting crappy. I'll try to do some filming on the new chair as I make my first journey around I'm not going around the neighborhood, but around the driveway. It's got a pretty good sized driveway. So I'll get a nice little run out of it and see how it feels. And probably the next thing I do is a first impression review of the C2 chair. That sounds like a good idea. All right, guys, that's going to wrap me up for today. As always, thanks for being with me. Please smash that thumbs up button. If you haven't subscribed, please take this as my invitation to do just that. The bell notification will tell you when I go live or when a new video is posted. So that's it for today. I'll see everybody back here tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. As always, stay safe, stay healthy, think about cruising, and hopefully one day soon we'll all get together on a high seas. This is the old fat travel guy. Later, y'all.
I regularly post videos on all facets of the travel and cruise industry, so if you like to keep up with the latest in cruise ships, ports of call, cruises themselves, Chillie chats, and travel and cruise industry news, just hit the little subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner, hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when a new video is up or we go live. This video was produced by Chillie's Cruises.